$900, $800, $700 in a day from your side hustle. And not to say that isn't possible, but is side hustle the right term for what you're speaking of? Is a side hustle going to make you that much in that amount of time? Because we all know the difference between a side hustle and a main hustle, but I think where the line isn't quite getting crossed, or it sounds a little bit fabricated, is to say that you could make this much simply off it being your side hustle. Me and my business partner actually started 5 of these side hustles that are said to make roughly around that crazy amount a day. And we started in a time where the economy was in a better position. So you would almost assume that we did pretty good. Well, stick around for the entire video and you'll find out. The first side hustle that we tried, and this was years ago, and this was with me and my business partner, we tried streaming on Twitch. And for those of you who are not familiar, Twitch is very popular for being a platform where you can live stream you playing video games. And we did just that. So we actually had a game of choice. We actually did build an audience, and we actually did make money. Did we make the crazy numbers that everybody are speaking of? No, we didn't. And this is not to say that it isn't possible and there aren't people out there making an insane amount from Twitch. I'm just saying we did it as a side hustle. It wasn't our main hustle. It wasn't our main source of income, but it was just another thing that we did to bring in some extra revenue. But it was such a small amount and we put in a good amount of time. And for anybody who's familiar with streaming on Twitch, you do have to stream for a decent amount of time. And of course, you can stream for as long as you want to, but if you want to see any kind of growth or any kind of results, you do have to stream for a certain amount of time. It's pretty standard for most streamers to have an understanding to stream roughly around 2 to 3 hours, every other day. And this is very normal in the streaming world. And we were doing that for a while, but because it's not our main source, when our main source started to pick up a bit, of course, we cut back on the streaming. But overall, we did not make that much money. We made a little bit, but nothing to ride home about. I would say streaming on Twitch is not really the best side hustle. Now, if you're really into playing video games and you just want to build a community, then by all means go for it. But what they don't tell you is most of the time you need a Discord, you need a Twitter, and all these things are tools to market your actual stream. With streaming, you have to remember, you have to be there in real time. Unlike YouTube, you can film a video from 2 weeks ago and then upload it. With streaming, you actually have to be there. You have to show up for your audience. So that's another downside to it. And these are a few things you don't know until you get into it. And of course, like I said in the beginning of this whole thing, this could be lucrative. You can make a lot of money from streaming, but in order for you to make that money, you do have to put in those hours. And I wouldn't really say you can look at it like a side hustle if you want it to be extremely successful. You have to really put in a lot of effort. You have to show up for your audience. You have to build different platforms and you have to build a personal presence. If you're willing to do all those things, then streaming might just be for you. Opening up an Etsy shop, and I'm sure everybody's seen people talk about how much you can make on Etsy, and not to doubt it. I believe you can make money from Etsy as well, but like I said, as a side hustle, maybe not. But if you're really focused on it and you build a product and you really build an audience behind what you're trying to sell and you redirect them to your Etsy shop, then that's a whole different ball game. But I wasn't really the one who built the actual Etsy shop. It was actually more so my business partner, and watching them go through the process of building their Etsy shop and trying to get sales, it seemed more so like my business partner was a marketer rather than a creator, because my business partner actually made a product like from scratch and tried to sell it on Etsy, which most Etsy sellers have a unique item and they could be getting it from a website like Alibaba, which that is just a website where they sell a bunch of whole goods and you can buy it from them for really cheap and then resell it. My business partner actually made their product from scratch and try to sell it on Etsy. And if you were to ask me, I would feel like the product was good, but nobody knew it existed because my business partner wasn't someone who was known. They were very low key, wasn't really on social media. So I feel as if you're building an Etsy shop and you have no online presence, or you do not put your product out there, putting it on the website alone will not really get you that far, and you probably won't get that many sales. So of course you see big numbers, but those people probably did a lot of marketing, put a lot of money behind their product, or they know the right people, send it out to influencers, or they're influencer themselves. So I really wouldn't say Etsy is a good side hustle. Could it be lucrative if it was your main thing? Absolutely. Following up with Etsy, I have to bring up a Shopify store. Very similar to Etsy, Shopify takes a lot of marketing and understanding your product, your service, what you're trying to do for the people buying from you, because it ain't as simple as opening up a Shopify store and then people come flooding into it. You do need the proper marketing in place, and that's the most important part. Like if you're going to use influencers, are you going to become an influencer? Are you going to use Facebook ads, use Google ads? All these things are very important when you're trying to get your Shopify store off the ground. And I've been doing my Shopify store for over 3 years. So I started in 2019 when the world was in a pretty good position. And I'm not going to say I didn't see major wins. I did, but it took a lot of work. Having a Shopify store, you would see where you can make a good amount of money, but at the same time have to put that same amount of money right back into your Shopify store to see similar results. So if you're really not prepared to not really profit, Shopify store is something that you really have to think about it, and you have to do your research behind actually having a store and understanding the business behind whatever you're trying to sell. In Shopify, as far as it being a side hustle, I could actually see it. I could see you making money from Shopify as a side hustle. I don't think you can make a lot, but I do think you can make a good amount of money where it could actually be profit if you do it in the proper way and you understand what you're doing. But it is still difficult. It's not something that's easy. It's not going to happen overnight. And to be honest with you, currently my actual Shopify store isn't profitable. I put way more money into it than I get from it, but it does make money. So I guess you could see it as one of those things where it almost break even, but not really if you account for all the overhead. I have to bring up at least one realistic side hustle. And what I mean by realistic side hustle is something where you never have to consider it being a main hustle. And that has to be Doordash and Uber. Doordash and Uber can be an extremely lucrative side hustle simply because you manage your own time. And when you go out there to go actually get the money, it's like you can set a limit. You could be like, I only want to do 5 deliveries. I only want to do 10 deliveries. And from those deliveries, say roughly you make around $50. Let's say you only do the food division of it and not do the ride sharing part where you pick people up, drop them off. More so just pick up food and drop it off at somebody's door or drop it off to that person. If you did 5 or 10 of those deliveries every night after you got off of work, that could easily get you $100 a week, even $200 a week. And no, it doesn't sound like a lot, but if you were to take that $200 and put it in somewhere where you build interest from your money, then that can easily build to a point where the money is actually pretty decent. So I say it's a good side hustle because it is strictly a side hustle. You never have to look at it like a main hustle. And a lot of the things that people say are side hustles are things that typically you consider it becoming a main hustle at some point, and it kind of become a main hustle quicker than it actually can cover you as far as your financial needs. So it's almost like you have to look at it like a main hustle before it can be a main hustle. The side hustle that everyone wants to be their main hustle, YouTube. Can YouTube be a side hustle? Absolutely. And I'm sure everybody at this point probably dabbled in it. And I'm not going to say everybody, but a lot of people dabbled in trying their own channel, but not everybody succeeded because YouTube is a lot harder than it is perceived to be. But a lot of people don't understand the level of difficulty because they think talking to a camera and posting videos is simple. Like, hey, I can do that. So why don't I try? And a lot of people attempt and not a lot of people succeed. So if you had to ask me, could it be a lucrative side hustle? I would say you can make money from it, but lucrative is a bit of a stretch because me and my business partner actually started 3 or 4 YouTube channels before I actually started this one, and they all failed. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say failed because they truly were side hustles and we wasn't really trying to build a YouTube channel, but YouTube is a beast and I'm sure a lot of people can vouch for me on that one. And yes, it could be a good side hustle because I know plenty of people who actually make a decent revenue from YouTube and they have main jobs, but YouTube is their side hustle. But it isn't something that's easy. It doesn't come easy. You still have to make time to make the videos. You still have to make time to write your script. You still have to make time to get prepared, and you still have to make sure the video makes sense of whatever topic that you're focused on. Yeah, you have to have a niche and you have to stick to that niche. And if you start to go off topic, we all know how the YouTube algorithm can be. Speaking of that algorithm, how about you like this video and consider subscribing? But with YouTube, you have to play the game, and we all understand that by now. So what I say is a good side hustle, it really depends. This one depends. But if you ask my personal opinion, I would say no. You have to put a lot of effort into it. And even with this channel, I put a lot of effort into it. I invested a lot in equipment. Every new video, you want people to get value from it. So it does take a little bit of time to be able to really put out a decent video with good quality, good information, and all of the above. So yeah, I would say YouTube is one of those ones where it's like, yes, it could be a good side hustle, but at the same time, we all know it could be a waste of time. Those are the 5 side hustles that me and my business partner tried, and some of them worked okay, but some of them didn't work at all. And only reason why I'm making this video is because some people make it seem as if side hustles are easy to do, or side hustles are side hustles rather than main hustles. And anything that makes money, you know, you're going to have to put a little bit of work into it for it to actually produce a decent amount of money. And it really doesn't come easy, regardless of what route you take. So if you're really truly trying to build wealth and you're prepared to put in the work, I think with anything, you can really get to where you're trying to go. With that being said, I appreciate anybody that watched my videos, especially to this part of it. If you can consider liking and subscribing to the channel, it'll help out tremendously, and I would appreciate it. If y'all can check out the links below, that'll help us out as well. But I'll see y'all on the next one.